Welcome to Heart Speak Podcast, episode 72, Taking Control Through Discernment. Well, we've done a whole month. We're round to the last quarter phase of the moon. I hope you're enjoying this journey with me. I am. This morning I looked up and I went, aha, there's the moon. It's just going into its last quarter. And I hope you enjoyed meeting your future. It's not always an easy thing to see in terms of you might have opened the door and there was nobody there, or you may not have been able to discern what was happening. But whatever you get, always ask, what are the three adjectives to describe what I see? So if I saw a color, for instance, red, and I've done a lot of color therapy in my life, if I asked all of you, what does red mean? You might come with anger, excitement, enthusiasm, danger. You see the whole range of different adjectives described to a color. So I want us all to recognize that those words come from us. In other words, they may have some significance to me, and I will then say, oh, it means this to me. And someone else will have something else. For instance, in Ireland, green is an unlucky colour, isn't it? Those of you who are Irish, where in other countries it will be, no, it's a very peaceful colour. And so every culture has a slightly different take on a colour. As you know, when some people grieve, they wear black, others wear white, because it's seen as a reincarnation, as a chance to go to another phase. So understanding our own awareness, our own consciousness is how we work with these meditations. So if something appears to you and you don't understand it, ask yourself, what would be the three adjectives to describe what I just saw, or that particular color, or that particular shape? And out of that, you will get greater understanding. Hope that helps you. So we looked at our future, we met our future self, we're saying this is the direction. This is the resonance. And I wanted to talk today, there's so many things I want to share about this phase, this last quarter phase that maybe I didn't share last time, because I also look at the astrology. And a lot of planets are going retrograde at this time, or have gone retrograde. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that the planet, if you looked up, it literally looks as if it's going backwards as such, or let's say it might look like that. But in truth, it's still moving forward. It's only appearing to go backwards in our eyes because of our perspective looking at it from Earth. Don't want to get too lost in the theory. But when we look at a chart, and what we call an ephemeris, which gives all the data of astrology, it shows us where a planet appears to go backwards. And when that happens, if you've ever had an astrology reading, you'll often be given 3 dates by an astrologer. And what we call these are transits. So the transits have maybe 3 dates to them. One will be when the planet appears to be going forward. One will be when it appears to be going backwards. And the third date where it goes forward again. All right? And what we say as an astrologer is that that middle date is always the more powerful, because this movement backwards is almost like being run over when a truck goes backwards. Beep, 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 beep. It's as if, I always feel as if whatever the energy of that planet in that sign is, it's ingraining it into us. It's forcing us to really face this. Oh no, we say. And planets go backwards, all the time throughout history. But when a lot of them are going backwards at a period of time, it really feels that it ups the ante. It makes everything much more intense. And let me tell you, that's what's going to happen over the next few months. And you're saying, oh no, if you think they were going to be more intense, look at us where we've been. We're absolutely right. So we've been in a so-called intense time. I'm not denying that. But now the intensity is not so much about the fear that's come with the virus, the anxiety, the unknown. It's more about what decisions are we going to make, both individually, collectively, etc. And that's why I'm using the word discernment. Discernment is different from judgment. Discernment affects the third eye. Judgment affects the solar plexus. A discerning idea is being able to gather all the information and then look at it with clarity and wisdom and detachment and say, what choices do I make based on my observations? That's very much third eye. Third eye is about detachment, clarity, and wisdom. And I think they need to be in that order, so that when we make a judgment, it can be a reactionary experience. And most judgments come from fear. And most judgments at the level of the solar plexus come from a fear that somebody else is better than we are, or someone else is criticizing us. So it's a sense of not feeling okay about ourselves, not feeling confident, not feeling sure of ourselves. So sometimes we judge others because we're feeling judged by them, or we judge ourselves because we naturally do that because we have Virgo in our chart. So a judgment is often showing a fear. And we see that commonly, even now in the social media, where someone might say, that's misinformation, that's wrong. And that's a judgment. That they're basically saying, I'm immediately reacting to what you're telling me because it doesn't go along with my knowledge, and therefore it must be wrong. And if you heard me speak on Facebook, I'm saying if you need to react to what I'm saying in such a violent way, you must have doubt about what you believe. That makes sense? So someone who has to judge someone else is already saying, I'm not sure what I believe, but I can't take on any more information. So if you are so sure of the information that you're carrying, you don't need to judge anybody else. You don't need to put down their information. You don't need to say that's wrong. You need to say that's interesting and I'll think about it. Now, why am I talking about this? Because lots of things are happening in Gemini. Yay! She says as a Gemini. So what does Venus in Gemini mean? Venus is about what we love, what we enjoy, not a passion, not an obsession, but just what makes us feel in harmony, what makes us feel in balance. And Venus has her own little journey through the sky, and sometimes she appears as the morning star and sometimes as the evening star. But as my husband, the astronomer, would say, they're neither of them are stars, they're both planets, they are Venus. And Venus has been very strong in many, many cultures, that she looks after us, she takes care of us. And you might have noticed recently how strikingly beautiful Venus has been in our sky, in the evening sky here in New Mexico. So I want you to understand that Venus in Gemini is about speaking, it's about learning, it's about writing, and it's about information. So I have Venus in Gemini. Venus in Gemini in my chart says I love reading, I love learning, I love speaking, as you might have noticed. When it becomes retrograde, it's really deepening our connection to information. And I'm putting it that way. It's really saying, what is the information that makes me feel in harmony with myself? What is the information that allows me to become more at peace with myself? Does that make sense? So the same time, the North Node, which is we would say our Dharma, where we're heading towards, has also just gone into Gemini. And to me, this is really a time where we are assessing the information that we hold, we might call it beliefs, that create our reality. Now, I'm taking that in a very strong and metaphysical way. But what I'm wanting you to understand is this is a breakdown, as I've said, of the old hologram, and the hologram is our perception of our reality. So if you understand that information creates perception that creates our behavior, what we're saying is your beliefs are influencing your behavior, the way you are. And at this time, as the hologram dissolves, which it's doing because it needs to do that after 26,000 years, we're all being asked to be discerning about what is the information, what are my beliefs through which I want to create a new hologram, or that I want to populate this new hologram, or want to create that new hologram. I'll put it that way. Sorry, I just want to say it this way. It is going back to the basis of our existence, our beliefs. I shouldn't say it's the basis of our existence. It's the basis of our creating of reality, that we are being given the chance to look at our beliefs and say which ones align to me and bring me into harmony and enjoyment, and which ones don't. We might use that word information. What does information? It says bringing into formation, into matter. That's why I'm saying is beliefs or information is what creates reality. Are you with me? So I think that even more than before, we are looking at what information, what beliefs am I carrying that are not in harmony with my soul. And I think that Venus going retrograde is really asking us deeply, does that resonate with me? Now, at the same time, you might have noticed that there is a chatter in your head. Maybe when we're not so busy, we're in lockdown, the chatter gets louder. And I know myself, there's chatter going on that is not always the kindest to Christine. In other words, where do you have talk, Gemini, that is not in harmony with you? So what I'm saying is you don't need to listen to somebody else. You might have that chat, that little monkey mind going on and on and on. Yes, it may be saying what your mother or your father used to say about you, but now you've taken it on. You don't need anybody else to tell you because you keep telling it to yourself. Understand? So it might feel like, God, I can hear my mother in my head, but it's really your head now. You've taken it on because it resonated with something deep in you. So not only are we saying, look, don't listen to something if it doesn't resonate with you, the news or someone else's opinion, but also, where is your head not resonating with you? Where is your thinking, your mindset not resonating with you? And I know this is easier said than done, but stop listening. Turn that brain off. Refuse to listen to it. Have a switch, click. And one of the ways I do it is I go and listen to some sort of play. I like detective play, so I go and listen to that. That takes my mind into something else. Or I put music on and I dance. Or I start to talk to someone, you know, it might be my husband, but it might be someone else. I'm saying is, how do you quieten that mind? And because I've got such an active mind, I'm only saying to you is sometimes you can't send the mind after the mind. You can't say, stop talking. What do you mean stop talking? Because you start to have a conversation about stopping talking. So sometimes you have to do something that's very physical, or something that literally occupies your mind, your brain, with other information, so you can't think those thoughts. Of course, I'm going to say to you, come back into your body, root yourself in the earth. But again, any of you with an active mind will start to say, well, how do I root myself in the earth? I wonder if I should do it better. I wonder if I should do it this way. Are you listening to me? I think some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So finding ways to not only be discerning about the information you hear from outside yourself, but also the information you hear inside yourself. And especially information that is judgmental. So I think if we really could listen to ourselves, we would be amazed by the chatter that goes on and on and on, over and over. Every action we take, well, you could have done that better. Oh, I wouldn't do that next time. Well, what are you going to do in the future? It's like, wow. Maybe you're not like that, and you think, what's she talking about? I've got a sense that many of us are either thinking about the future or we're thinking about the past. I remember Caroline Myss saying years ago that almost 80% of our brain was taken up thinking about the past and about 10% in the future. I think she was being generous, and about 10% in the now. We many times we're basing our future on our past wounds, our past experiences. So even thinking about the future, if it's coming from a place of judgment, don't think it. I'm going to do better next time. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. If you hear any of those words about improving yourself or doing things better, you're already coming from judgment. Make sense? I'm going to lose more weight. I'm going to do more exercise. All of that's judgmental. So I am asking you to be very discerning about your thoughts and ask yourself, where am I judging? So if I said to you now, you are perfect just as you are, and that everything that's going to come into your future, all the plans you might want to make, are going to come from you being in your center now. How does that sound? So finding your center, being in your center, is so important at this time. And sometimes that means cutting us off from all that other thinking. So if someone says to you, so what are you going to do now? Say, I don't know. I'm waiting to let something emerge from me. And remember, as we're in the last quarter of the phase of the moon, you shouldn't be doing anything or making any plans for a new project until after the new moon. So you can tell them, I'm waiting until after the new moon and then I'll make some plans. But you're not quiet. You're actually in this phase where you're sorting out what I call the wheat from the chaff. It's the time of harvesting. So what a farmer would do during this last quarter phase, he would put everything into a sieve and he would let the wheat fall through and catch the chaff, maybe that way round. What I'm trying to say is this is a time to separate that which works for me and that which doesn't. And it doesn't have to be a huge project, but you may have noticed in the last few weeks, things that have come up for you. And because of the lockdown, you might have had an opportunity to say, no, I can't visit you. I can't do this. But you might be quite pleased that you can't visit that person, or you might be quite pleased that you can say no. Have you noticed that? So I want maybe you to be very honest, again, using discernment, clarity. What is it that fills your soul that you've noticed you are missing, and what doesn't fill your soul that you won't notice you're not missing anymore? And I will be honest that I love doing these podcasts. I love talking to you on different means that I have. But I'm also learning to step back from wanting to see action based on what I've said. So I'm being really honest. I have this tendency to say, let's all do this, let's all move forward. And I'm realizing that as I share the podcast, I share maybe something on Facebook, I'm enjoying just having that freedom to share with you. If you want to comment, you can, but I'm not asking for anything back. I'm just having that pleasure. And that's taking a lot of pressure off me. So I'm being honest with you, that's my chaff, which is when I feel I need to, I feel I'm going to react. And I'll again be really honest with you. Some of that reaction is, if I help them, then they'll think I'm a nice person. That was my judgment of myself, bound in my solar plexus. What I'm recognizing that actually I can just put this information out there without judgment of them or judgment of myself. And this is about not having an attachment to a result. Does that help you? So once again, if you're giving information to someone or you're thinking, I should tell them something, again, that's maybe what needs to quieten down during this time when Venus is retrograde in Gemini, North Node in Gemini now. Because it's really about, do they need this information? Did they ask for that information? Or is this just you love sharing your information? Are you judging them for not knowing this information? And are you going to get offended when they don't do anything with that information? So maybe I want to just clarify that. Where are you speaking without being asked for information? Where are you sharing information without actually being asked for it? Or where are you doing more searching on Google or on the computer when really maybe you just need to listen within, trusting your own intuition, trusting your own wisdom? And that's really what this is about. It's you have the knowledge, you have the know-how. What do you feel is right for you? What do you feel right for your body, for your soul, for your beingness? And I love it when I hear people saying, no, I'm making a decision for myself, whether that's about health or about job or about relationship. It's not that they may not ask for help, but the only person that can make the decision in the long term is you. And I think that's what we all know, that if we do ask someone for help or information, if it resonates with us, we know when it resonates at a very deep level. I always say it's my true friends who tell me the truth. The other ones tell me what I want to hear. But when I hear someone tell me the truth, it's like, oh, you got to me. That was the truth. Does that make sense? So you're very much looking at, if you're going to ask someone for help, let it resonate with you. Don't take it unless it resonates with your heart, resonates deep. Just let it go, like the virus. Viruses are just a piece of information. We can choose to let them come into our beingness, and we can choose to take out of them what we want and let go of the rest. But when we are immune suppressed, which is unfortunately so many people are because of taking in different drugs or being, and again, I don't think they're immune suppressed because of their illness. It's unfortunately what we're doing with medicine that is causing them to be even more immune suppressed. I just want to make that clear, that we're not treating them in a way to make them whole again. What we're often doing is just suppressing their body's response in a way that does not support their immune system. Yes, that's what I want to say. So making decisions, it's not the virus that's causing you any problem. I mean, it is, but it is also showing us where we have forgotten how to make good decisions, to be discerning, to stand true in our own being, and take control of our own lives. And this is the final piece of this today, which is very much about Saturn has also gone retrograde in Capricorn. Pluto is already retrograde in Capricorn, and Jupiter's about to go. And Saturn in Capricorn, again, all of these are going beep, beep, beep back over you. Saturn in Capricorn is literally like an authority figure making sure you do what they want you to do. Why am I saying that? Is Saturn represents the father, and it's like the patriarchy or the patron, the sort of person who wants to say, I'm paternal to you, I'm going to tell you what to do. And that goes so far maybe when we're young, but this is a time to take back your power from those you've given authority to, and they can be men or women. And it's not to say that you don't say, yes, you can help me, but you are asking for their help, but you're not giving away your power. Does that make sense? So that someone who demands that you give away your power in offering of them giving you help is not, you do not want to do that anymore. You want to say, I've come to you because I trust your expertise, but no, I'm not giving you my power. You can use your expertise on my questions and I'll make that final decision. Make sense? This is big, my friends, because the one thing over the last 2,000 years of the Piscean age we've been doing is giving away our power. And we've said, hey, where's the leader? Where's the Messiah? Where's the guru? Let me follow you. And hey, we've given away our power, but it was in the understanding that if we follow you, you'll make us special, whatever it is. And we will never have to be accountable for our actions. And now we're moving towards a stage where we are being asked to be accountable for our words, our thoughts, our actions, and there's no more hiding. So this is when Saturn is going over backwards in Capricorn, it's really showing up, A, where we've given our power away, B, where people want to take our power and restrict us. You can't do this, you need to do that. All these power games that are happening. You're a bad person. You should apologize. All this, the shaming that's going on. Nobody has control over us like that. But we have to act accountably with the energy we're taking back. So it's not just becoming a rebel. It's saying, I will be totally accountable for whatever happens. It's a very different thing. And we are into a summer of revolution, I think, a summer where there's going to be a lot of increased restrictions, especially when Jupiter goes into Capricorn as well. Jupiter is about expanding, but expanding the way in which we're controlled, but at the same time, it's expanding our control of ourselves, taking back control. So it's about it's almost like who controls your mind. It's going to be the biggest thing, nothing else. It's control of our minds rather than our bodies. And it's really someone saying, I know what's right for you. And I want you to be able to say, no, I know what's right for me. You are only seeing a small part of me, and a part of me that's now in this period of time changing forever. So as you are becoming more aware of who you are, you will be becoming more stronger, and you will be opening yourselves to a new level of consciousness that you have not seen before. You may be having more dreams. You may be having more nightmares. You may be having more dreams of ETs or UFOs or angels. This is a time where we're all waking up to our multidimensional self. Let me call it that. And whatever's going on for you, open your minds and your hearts to saying, I'm ready to see myself reflected in the world around me, in my wholeness, in my fullness. This isn't about time to be small. This is time to be big. So in this last quarter moon, my final message is do some sorting out. What nurtures my soul? What brings me into harmony? And what doesn't? And make a pledge to yourself to truly let go of those things that don't harmonize with you anymore as we move towards the balsamic and then the dark moon. So until next time, looking forward to seeing you, and I'll see you in the moon. As we all look up there, I see you reflected in that. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for listening to the HeartSpeak podcast with Dr. Christine Page. Please check out all HeartSpeak episodes in the podcast archive section on www.christinepage.com. HeartSpeak is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and now playing on iHeartRadio. You can also watch the archive podcasts on YouTube. Connect with Christine on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, including her newest Facebook group, The Great Mother Calling. Do share with family, friends, colleagues. Join us next time for another edition of HeartSpeak.